The backbone of the Adirondack Mountains is made up of predominantly metamorphic rocks. These include metasedimentary rocks that were formed by metamorphism of sedimentary rocks, metavolcanic rocks formed by metamorphosis of lava and volcanic ash, and metaplutonic rocks formed by metamorphism of igneous rocks. All of these rocks have been complexly deformed by ductile and/or brittle deformation. Brittle deformation is characterized by breaking of rocks at shallow depths or at the surface where they are cooled. Ductile deformation is more typical of rocks that are deeply buried and hot enough to bend or flow without breaking.
Welcome to the Snakes, just 4 miles south of Canton. Now, as far as I know, there are no snakes around here. Rather, what we have here is a thin band of feldspar-rich rock, thought to be a metamorphosed volcanic rich ash layer that snakes across this dolomitic marble, showing at least 2 phases of folding. Note that this outcrop neatly shows a classic plastic rock deformation that is typical of Granville marbles.
Both the snake and the folded bands in the host dolomitic marble represent original horizontal layering, which implies that they were significantly deformed. The plastic, taffy-like character of this deformation is evidenced by stretching and folding and nearly unbroken body of the snake. This type of deformation is regionally common, and most of the Grenville orogeny rocks of the St. Lawrence lowlands, including marbles, schists, and gneisses, that are plastically deformed but in different degrees. The snake itself is made up of mostly coarsely crystalline microcline feldspar. It also contains finely crystalline green diopside, which crystallized when silica migrated outward of the snake and reacted with the dolomitic marble, as evidenced by an abundance of diopside along the snake's edges and its rapid decrease away from the snake. Other common minerals include yellow metallic pyrite, glassy quartz, green actinolite, and black tourmaline.
Alright everyone, we are approximately 1 mile southeast of Gouverneur, New York, and right behind me is an 80 centimeters thick dark green basaltic dike that cuts across the banded marble. Interestingly, you can find the dike in the middle of both sides of the road here.
Some 650 to 600 million years ago, basaltic magma from the Earth's mantle was injected along the fault lines and fractures as the eastern seaboard of Proto-North America was rifted apart to form the Aeaptus Ocean between the paleocontinents of Laurentia, Baltica, and Avalonia. This ocean disappeared some 400 million years ago when these three continents collided to form a single landmass. Given that the nearly vertical, dark basaltic dike cuts through the banded marble, it must be younger than the marble. That the basalt intruded along the fracture in the marble is indicated by its borders with the marble, which locally nearly parallel each other. Namely, if the dike were removed, they would almost fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Large blocks of quartz are locally scattered in the marble, these likely formed by brittle deformation or breakage of quartz veins. Dark scapolite crystals are scattered in the host's marble on one side of the dike. Scapolite is a silicate mineral and its hardness is 5 to 6. Large crystals are regionally found in metamorphic rocks, especially in marbles and gneisses. They are susceptible to weathering and easily alter to micas and clay minerals.
We are at the Hillsborough Outcrop near Governor, New York. This spectacular outcrop beautifully exposes folded black and white bands of marble and brownish blocks of amphibolite. Apparently, it shows a broken up basaltic dike. And that's why this outcrop is also known as the train wreck. It tells us how complex geodynamic history of the Adirondacks was.
The giant road cut exposes spectacularly deformed and complexly folded Grenville marble unit. The ductile deformation of the marble is manifested by its creep behavior resulting in thinning and thickening of layers, where layer spacing is widest around the crest of the central fold and narrowest on the limbs. The most interesting feature of this road cut are trains and clusters of dark rectangular blocks of amphibolite, coarse-grained equivalent of basalt. The amphibolite likely intruded the marble hosts similarly to the basaltic dike at the previous road cut. However, this dike was subsequently brittly deformed, which resulted in its boutonage sausage-like structure. Individual amphibolite blocks have milky calcite rings around their edges. Calcite also fills the smaller fractures within the blocks. In addition to common mafic minerals, the blocks contain dark red to reddish brown garnets. Since most dikes are tabular, the amphibolite blocks show surprisingly little displacement compared to the highly deformed marble. This suggests that the large fold in the marble exists prior to the dike intrusion, whereas the subsequent episode of deformation resulted in renewed folding of the plastic marble and the fragmentation and displacement of the brittle dike. This deformation episode was also associated with intense metamorphism, as evidenced by thorough recrystallization of the dike and formation of coarse texture and exotic minerals, including black tourmaline and microcline in the banded marble close to the amphibolite blocks.